If you perform the same type of service jobs repeatedly and you want to simplify job estimating, Homewyse List was built specifically for you. Homewyse List is great for trade contractors and service professionals that do the same type of jobs repeatedly. This includes painters, roofers, electricians, plumbers, cleaners, drywallers, handymen, and landscapers. Before we start, there are two important points to understand. Number one, you will need to do some initial setup and customization to get lists tuned to your business. Two, your success with lists will depend on your expertise and how much you know about the details of your business. If you've never done a job before or don't have a good feeling for the requirements and cost factors of a new job, you shouldn't be using lists. For this tutorial, we'll create a list, then customize that list, and then finally create copies of the list for each job estimate. If you haven't already done so, sign up for your account at app.homewyse.com. When you first sign in, you'll be given a list of the templates that are available to create your own list. For this example, let's choose basic interior painting. The first thing we'll need to do for our copy of this template is to give it a name. I'll call it My Master Interior, and we have to specify a labor rate, which is going to be the wage plus overhead on an hourly basis, and that has to be right for your business. In this case, I'm just going to assume $35 an hour. It may be different for you, but we're going to use 35 here. Choose Save. That'll create your copy of this template list, My Master Interior. The quantities and the information in this list are driven in large part by this number here, which is the size of the job. And the way that this number is used is described here at the top. So this says that the input is going to be the floor area in square feet of all the rooms to be painted. Then it lists all the other assumptions about what would be included as well. But basically you put this number in, and then all of the quantities in the lower portion of the estimate will be updated. So each of those rows here represents an item, which is either going to be a task, a work task, or a product that's to be included in the estimate. The key part of each of these items is this item quantity. And for most templates, these item quantities are driven by this input quantity. And in this case, this paint wall is driven as a multiple of the input square footage. And once you have the item quantity here, in this case 1215 square feet, it's used to create the total number of hours that'll be used, the labor costs associated with that, and also the materials for that amount of square footage. To include items in a total, all you do is you check the tasks or the products that you want included in a particular estimate. So if you check those, you'll see then that you get a total that sums up all of the hours, labor costs, and material costs. Alright, at this point we've created our own new list using a standard template. Not quite done. What you need to do before it's usable as your own is you need to go in and just make sure the cost factors are correct and that all the items you want to see on the list are there. And what we're going to do is show you how to go through that process now. Basically, start off, just go through this list, look at each one of the items, take a look at the quantity that's there, then the hours that are calculated, labor and material costs. If something doesn't look right, you can edit it. So for instance, say we went down this list, we got to wall paint, and in terms of the quantity we see, we think for 7 gallons of paint $177 seems a little bit low. Let's change the unit cost, and to do that click Edit, go into the Cost tab, and here we see that the cost that's being used is $25.35. Let's just say that's not what we want to see. Let's make it $35 even and choose Save. And when we go back and we see our wall paint, then it'll be recalculated using this new number. So this list and any list created from it as a copy will use this custom value of this cost factor that we just put in. The other thing a lot of people want to do is they want to add new items to this list that aren't included in the template. So for instance, you went through this this painting template and you didn't see an item for removing paint. So if you wanted to add that item, one way to do it here is to say add item to this list, choose Homewyse library item, and this library of items has 1100 items that have been predefined in all these different categories, and you can see if an item exists by browsing through the list, or you can type in keywords. So in this case, remove paint yields two choices here, and I'll choose the first one. And the last thing it asks us to specify is, how is the item quantity going to be determined? So the top option here is, do you want it to be a fixed number, or do you want it, the lower one is, do you want it to be calculated? So if we use the lower number, let's just say that for every 10 square feet that is input in the list input, that we want 1 square foot of paint removed. And so what we do here is enter a value which is 1 divided by 10, or 0.1, and then that will calculate the value every time the list input is changed. So note before we find it that we've got 375 square feet as our list input, and then down at the bottom we have our new item, which is remove paint, and it's calculated at 38 square feet, which is basically 10% of that total amount. So we did that correctly, and the only other thing we might want to do is move this item into a different part of the list. So a lot of times you see items and maybe you want to order them a certain way. The way to do that is just click and drag an item by its name, and then you'll get a preview of where it's going to be dropped, and then you can go ahead and just put that anywhere on the list that you want. So for removal paint, if you want it at the top because it's an initial step, you could do that, and you've got that item. One other thing that may be necessary, they may want to do, is you may want to create an item that doesn't currently exist in our templates or our libraries. To do that, again, choose add item, and this time choose custom item. Let's say what we want to do is have an item for moving heavy furniture. So what we'll do is give it a name, and then what we have to do is specify how is the cost calculated. In this case, we're going to do it on a per unit basis, and just for future reference so it's easy to find, we'll put it in the painting section. And then in the description section, just this is what's going to end up being printed on the estimate. So if it's going to help somebody understand the scope of what you do, say it, maybe say up to 200 pounds, and then move and replace furniture. Move and replace. The next thing you do is you specify cost. So if you wanted to do, you can specify material cost on a per unit basis, or you can specify labor costs, or both on a per unit basis. In this case, let's just do a flat fee, and to do that in the unit cost, just enter the flat fee. So in this case, let's say $50. And then on a quantity, fixed quantity at top, default is 1. Let's just go ahead and keep that, and then choose save. And again, we have an item then which will be move heavy furniture, $50 per item, and there's our description. These techniques that we've just gone over are the basics of what you need, either to customize a list, any list that you have and can edit, or to create a new list from scratch. It's basically the same thing. You can go in and use the libraries, or you can create your own. You just enter the cost factors and you specify how the quantity is going to be calculated, and you're done. And at this point, we've basically customized our list. Alright, in this final section, we'll show you how to create an estimate, a specific job estimate, using your customized list. Key point to emphasize here is that when you do this, you don't want to edit your custom list directly. What you want to do is you want to create a copy of that list for each job that you're going to estimate. Now to do that, go to your menu, choose lists, choose add a new list, and what we want to do is copy our master list that we started with. Again, we're going to give it a name. The best practice here is to give it the name of the client, or maybe the job address. Add your labor rate. We'll use 40 an hour here. And then you've got your copy for this particular job. Now let's say for this job at 345 Easy Street, the square footage of the rooms to be painted totals 720 square feet. Enter that value, then all of our quantities are updated, and all we have left to do then is choose the particular options that are going to be included in this job. So let's say that we want to remove the paint, paint the walls, the ceiling, the molding. Maybe we want to repair a drywall hole, maybe we got one of those, and then we want to make sure we include the materials, so the paint for the walls, ceiling, and trim. Say we also need some furniture moved, and instead of one item, let's assume we want to do 4 here, so choose that. And then we have the items that are going to be in this estimate for 345 Easy Street. Now take a quick look at the totals for the hours and the cost quantities, and if it makes sense, save this item. Once you've saved it, you can use it to create printed output and share this information with other people. So choose print. The first option here gives you the most detail, so everything that we've included, descriptions and quantities, will be included, and you get a preview of that. You'll note that the items shown are only the items that we checked, and that our quantities and costs are going to be what we saw before, but again, this is a printed output format. And what we can do when we're happy with this is say print page. Now what we'll see here is which output device. In this case, if you're using Safari or Chrome, choose PDF. It's an electronic format that people can't edit. Just choose save and you're done.